one of the things we can't forget is this isn't just affecting South Carolina or the United States. This is a global pandemic started by China, and it's affecting countries all around the world right now. One of the things that I called for early on in the process was widespread rapid testing so we could more clearly, more quickly identify some of the hot spots that were affecting our communities. South Carolina also has something called home rule. And during an emergency situation or crisis like we're in right now, local municipalities and counties have the ability to enact mask regulations and mandates. One of the other things that I've been advocating for, both as a state lawmaker and at the federal level, in order to improve our response in a crisis and a pandemic, is to repeal some of the burdensome regulations that inhibit us at the federal, state, and local level to respond quicker. One of the things that I wanted to point out during this crisis is that Democrat Joe Cunningham voted for a measure that would have reduced South Carolina's Medicaid funding from the federal government by up to 10% during a pandemic. He also tried to give China, that caused this pandemic, a free ride or a hall pass on tariffs, trying to reward a bad actor that started this crisis in the first place. He votes with Nancy Pelosi 90% of the time, which is not bipartisan, which means maybe he's independent 10% of the time. And I think it's very disingenuous to say that you are bipartisan when you have that sort of voting record. This is what happens when you follow Nancy Pelosi.
Can I give you 60 seconds to respond?
Of course. Yeah, I'm proud of my voting record. I'm proud that I show up to vote, too. And Representative Mace may say one thing tonight, but the fact is, when the cameras were rolling just a few days ago, she told you those votes weren't important enough to show up. I think they are. And again, during the face of this pandemic, I think we need to follow the facts, follow the science, and let that lead the way. While I want to follow the facts and the science, my opponent wants to attack Dr. Fauci, and she called him a liar. In fact, look back how we've handled this pandemic. During the height of this pandemic, my opponent hosted a super spreader of event on her primary night with hundreds of people, with no mask, with no social distancing, and showing no leadership. And then later on, she attacks me for not having in-person events. I think we need true leadership that follow the facts and that follow the science.